Secure Moment is brought to you by Secure Home and Automation, your premier authorized Bring security dealer. Home invasions occur every 23 seconds, fire every 85 seconds, and medical emergencies occur suddenly. In times like these, get secured home and automation and an affordable wireless home alarm system with professional monitoring. This includes fast emergencies response, free security analysis, free equipment, and free installation. A limited time offer, be proactive. Call today, don't delay. 708-251-5069. That's 708-251-5069. Call now, 708-251-5069, or visit our website, securehomeandautomation.com. Secure Home and Automation, where your life safety is our priority. It brings authorized dealers. Certain restrictions apply. WIFTBPM.
Greetings, family. This is Salim Muwakil, and I'd like to welcome you to the first edition of Muwakil's World. This is going to be a great trip for you guys because we're going to delve into some very, very interesting issues. I'd like to know if you've checked out your mind to see just how deep it can take you. I'm curious to know if you've explored the intellectual currents that channel our thoughts and frame our reality. Also, if you've ever meditated for relaxation and accidentally bumped into the universe. This is something we'd like to deal with on this show. Many metaphysical issues, esoteric issues, and just things that go beyond the normal range of discourse in this country. And, it's the first edition of this show, and I have someone who is absolutely ideally suited to deal with the range of concerns that we want to focus on Muwakil's World, and that is Sister Yaounde Olu. And I'd like to say also that what I'm going to do to try to get into these issues is to feature various people who you may not be familiar with, but who have really explored the deeper dimensions of our reality in ways that are very, very provocative and are in tune with what I'd like to focus on the show. And so, again, the first show is going to feature Sister Yaounde Olu. And those of you who know Sister Yaounde Olu know exactly why she's the first guest. Let me just read some of her accomplishments so that we can, get some context for what the sister is bringing to the discussion. Dr. Yaounde Olu is the author or editor of over 20 books, and is also an astrologer, an astrological scientist, she calls herself. I occasionally differ with that, but we can get into that. She's an award-winning editorial cartoonist, a visual artist, an educator, composer, musician, and cable television producer. And that's in addition to being a philosopher of great repute. So, Sister Yaounde, welcome to the maiden voyage of Muwakil's World. I am glad you can join us. You are exactly the perfect guest for this show.
Well, thank you. And congratulations on your show. This is very exciting.
Yes, it is exciting indeed. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So how are you doing?
I am absolutely doing fine. I'm doing well.
What are you what are your thoughts? Let's start off deep. Let's get into the waters quickly.
Are you sure?
Well, look, we got these raging wildfires in California. It looks like apocalypse in California. We have locusts in northern Africa and the Middle East. We have swarms of mosquitoes in the South. We have a pandemic of a virus that is completely decimating the economy in many places. And then we have this this eruption of racial discontent. What is causing all of this confusion? Are we on the verge of apocalypse?
Well, apocalypse basically means revelation, or something that is being revealed to you as a result of changes that we're going through. And we are in a period of a revelation, and I'm not speaking about revelation in the Bible per se, but things will be and are being revealed to us. So with the stresses that we're going through, we're going to come out as people in a different way. We're going to understand a different level of being on the planet. We have ignored for too long the call to be humane with each other. We've ignored for too long the charge to take care of the planet. We're stewards of this planet, but what's happening? I'll have to say it for those of you who know something about astrology. Right now, we have a square going on between a couple of heavy planets dealing with Capricorn squaring Aries. That's fire all day long with the Aries part. And Aries is fire rather, is cleansing. What happens
When you
when
say Aries and fire, how is that? Where do you make that connection?
Well, in astrology, we have what are called the four elements. And the four elements are air, water, fire, earth. And each one represents a particular class of behavior on the planet, or a class of activities, or a class of things. Aries, which rules pioneering activity, fire, new thought, anything brand new is Aries. And so that's like the beginning. And with these fires in California, and I think they're in Oregon
and Washington too.
Right.
The entire West is up in flames.
I think what is happening, in my opinion, we are being brought to the brink because we're also experiencing political fires as well. All of these can be, all of these new concepts. The pandemic, which is a Neptunian thing, Neptune being the planetary category of dreams, of the things that you can't see and understand very well, of diseases, especially airborne or diseases caused by microorganisms. So all of these things are coming together.
Let's take a quick detour. You're talking about astrology in very knowledgeable ways,
Right, and I didn't want to really do that, but
I'm interested in what triggered your interest in astrology in the first place. Why did you get involved in such a fringe, what many people would say is a fringe activity?
Oh, it's not fringe. It's only fringe.
Great.
It's only fringe.
Hold that for a minute, Sister Ione. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this, y'all.
WIFTBPM. Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, or you can find them online at solobeauty.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. People in Illinois have been crying out for justice, equality, and fairness from their government for years. And it keeps getting worse. Unfair taxes, laws that unjustly imprison nonviolent offenders. The rich get richer, and the everyday people suffer. It's time for a change, and with your help, I'm here to do it. I'm asking for your support as I run for U.S. Senator in 2020.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
You're listening to I Said What I Said with Toussaint Warner and Herb Howard. Well, what was the power of the Bible? Most motherfuckers couldn't read. So the Bible legitimately changed the world because motherfuckers began to learn to read. And once I can learn to read, wait a minute, I can question some of this bullshit You talking
What school
about?
you go to though?
It don't matter.
A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Well, I'm not
No, I went to Dunbar.
Yes!
That's how Dunbar.
Oh, it's good.
People disrespect the city schools. This Chicago. And I'm a motherfucking genius.
And that's on period.
Shout out to the mighty man. Nah, I'm just playing. But seriously though, think about it though, right? The Bible legitimately changed the world, right? What's up, good people? You're listening to I Said What I Said with Toussaint Warner and Herb Howard live on What's In It for the Black People Media, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
What's up? This is Mike Love.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Diz.
Sounds like Bad Boy Radio.
Yeah, but it's not Bad Boy Radio because we are now Chicago famous, but we are back on the air.
3 to 6, Monday through Friday.
All right, you tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody it's going down. Not only will you hear us on air, but you'll be able to see us as well.
What's in it for the Black People Media? Make sure you check us out.
Is it really a good idea to have the same senator for 3 generations? I support term limit for all elected officials. Our senators need to bring home growth for our business community, jobs, housing, service for our senior citizens, and health care. We need new ideas and new approach to federal representation. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. Vote for me and send me to Washington, D.C. God bless.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
This secure moment is brought to you by Secure Home and Automation, your premier authorized Bring security dealer. Home invasions occur every 23 seconds, fire every 85 seconds, and medical emergencies occur suddenly. In times like these, get secured home and automation and an affordable wireless home alarm system with professional monitoring. This includes fast emergencies response, free security analysis, free equipment, and free installation. A limited time offer, be proactive. Call today, don't delay. 708-251-5069. That's 708-251-5069. Call now, 708-251-5069, or visit our website, securehomeandautomation.com. Secure Home and Automation, where your life safety is our priority. It brings authorized dealers, certain restrictions apply.
So, D-Ray, I wanted to ask you, so do you have a Bad Boy Radio moment? Do you remember an event that you were at that we were hosting or something we did on the radio that really stayed with you?
Okay. Something y'all did on the radio that stayed with me was letting me get on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's true.
That was my step in the door. It was my opportunity to get into GCI, which I started working, there. You guys got me on Sundays and all that stuff. And it introduced me to doing more characters because I would do characters on you guys' show. I don't even remember what the hell I was doing then, but you guys would just let me go, and that freedom didn't exist nowhere in radio.
Yeah, and it doesn't exist anymore, which is what we're starting to hear and we see when it comes to radio. Chicago famous, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, right here on What's In It for the Black People Media.
WIIFTV-PM.
And we're back. Salim Muwakil here with Dr. Yaounde Olu. I haven't mentioned the fact that she is also a PhD, which is another part of her resume. This sister is extremely accomplished in many ways, and traditional ways, and I guess you could say untraditional. And one of those untraditional ways is this astrology thing. And so I was asking my sister, how did you get into this, and what triggered your interest?
Well, interestingly, I didn't know anything about astrology growing up. I don't recall ever hearing it mentioned in my home. But years ago, I was a teacher, a young teacher and I was a science teacher. And I became sick one day. You know how you catch a cold and you're working, so you have to call off sick? Mm-hmm. So I took 3 sick days because I was, I had a cold or whatever it was. I fell sick. And I have a huge collection of books. I've always had a lot of books and what have you. And but normally I have no problems determining what I'm going to read or what I'm going to look at. But this particular time when I was sick, I had one book that I just happened to have purchased maybe like a week before getting sick. By the way, this was just a cold. Okay, I mean, no major illness or anything. And during that time, the only book that would allow me to visit it or use it was this book on astrology. The only one. You know, I bought it on a lark. You know, I said, oh, I'll think about this someday. But when I fell sick, nothing else. I couldn't read anything else. I couldn't do anything else. The only thing that caught my attention and that actually reeled me in was this book on astrology. And then after I read the book, and by the end of my illness, by the end of that 3-day period, I knew a lot about it. I understood how charts were done.
Wow.
I understood the concepts behind it, and then I became well and went back to work. So I was kind of forced into it, actually. You know, it was not something that I planned. But I have to say, though, I've always been interested in philosophy of all types. Hermann Hesse was one of my favorite philosophical entrees into this.
Gautama,
Buddha.
Buddha, right?
Man's Search for Meaning. You know, a number of books like that and that direction. I've just always been a searcher. And astrology, when I started looking at charts, and this is true to this very day, when I look at those figures, it's like I'm looking at old friends. I mean, I know I've never said this publicly ever, but that's what it reminds me.
I'm glad I'm getting an exclusive here. But you know, it seems to me that it's such a tenuous connection between astronomical influences and what happens on this planet, what happens with humans on this planet. How do you make that connection between what goes on in the celestial realm with what's happening in this terrestrial realm?
Okay, if you know anything about quantum mechanics, which they're learning more and more about that every day, there's what you call spooky action at a distance, basically. The bottom line is that
which Einstein criticized.
Yes, but everything is connected. Everything, everywhere. For example, in quantum physics, they found that anytime two atoms, let's say, or whatever, come together, no matter where they are in the universe after that, they act like they're in concert. That's because they're, from what I could see, an underlying fabric in space-time that connects us all. And
physicists are calling it dark energy or dark matter, right?
Dark energy and dark matter. But also, in fact, that's how gravity, the theory of gravity has to do with a so-called underlying substrate that the planets are kind of rolling around in. And they say that gravity is not something that attracts us, but it's something that, you know, it's like putting a marble on a sheet. And so when you put the marble on the sheet bends. And Einstein was one of the ones to show that light is bent. But I guess that's a leap from light to the underpinning. But there's also an inner light that people talk about. So the bottom line is everything is connected, and it's connected by resonance. It's connected by vibration. Everything. And so even as we live and move and have our being on this planet, everybody has their own individual universe, because you have not had the same experiences that I have had.
Correct.
And my experiences differ from other people's experiences. You know, one of the best ways to see the fact that we're all different and we're having different experiences, but yet we're connected, is the internet, and in particular Facebook. And I'll explain this. Have you noticed that, for example, it's one of the best ways to see our individual universes, so that on Facebook, certain people will post things. You saw that post years ago, maybe, and they're just seeing that post, you know, today maybe. And that happens a lot. Our Facebook personality is connected with the people in our sphere. And that's how life is. In life, because of this invisible ordering of form, which is what I'm going to call it, we are all connected. Everything is all connected, no matter how far the universe is like 13 billion light years wide. That's what they're saying now. I believe they're going to find that's different too. They're going to find that that multiple universes exist. They're probably going to find that there's an infinity of universes, and that we all have a place in it. And what happens, what manifests in our lives has to do with how we're resonating with where we are, our vibration.
But aren't there so many variables in this? Not just planetary variables, but as you say, universal variables. I mean,
Yes.
things that are happening in unseen realms that can affect us. So how can we locate it to certain planetary influences?
Well, if you think of astrology, it's not really just planetary. You have your fixed stars. You have all types of entities or objects in the so-called universe. But with us as people, we resonate with what was happening when we were born, when we came out of the womb. They usually, the technical way of really doing astrology is to look at what time it was. When I say time, the horoscope is the picture of the hour. So look at where everything was when we came out, and that's where we fit. So my way of saying it is that the stars don't necessarily control what happens. We're born when the external world fits who we are. Hermes Trismegistus or
Interesting.
Thoth the Atlantean, who theoretically are the same person, always said it, as above, so below. So if you want to know about everything else, look at your own body. So we're universes in miniature.
The microcosm is the macrocosm.
Exactly. And that's absolutely the way it appears to be.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. Tax burden of the average middle-class American goes way beyond income taxes. There are sales taxes, real estate taxes, gasoline taxes, and many, many more. As an international businessman, I know that by reducing the billions of dollars we give to other countries, we could help fund our own country. We need to rethink our tax laws and lower the taxes for our own citizens.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, or you can find them online at solobeauty.com. WIIFTBPM.
This secure moment is brought to you by Secure Home and Automation, your premier authorized Bring security dealer. Home invasions occur every 23 seconds, fire every 85 seconds, and medical emergencies occur suddenly. In times like these, get secured home and automation and an affordable wireless home alarm system with professional monitoring. This includes fast emergencies response, free security analysis, free equipment, and free installation. A limited time offer, be proactive. Call today, don't delay. 708-251-5069. That's 708-251-5069. Call now, 708-251-5069, or visit our website, securehomeandautomation.com. Secure Home and Automation, where your life safety is our priority. It brings authorized dealers, certain restrictions apply.
Boys, step aside. The Radio Rookie is in the building. The Book of Dawn, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on What's In It for the Black People Media.
I mean, because I want people to understand exactly what we're doing here, because we're going to give you a little bit of everything here. So when you tune into us Monday through Friday at 3 o'clock, we are going to talk about that you all are hearing about around the world in Chicago, whether it's Cardi B situation or it's the COVID, Lori Lightfoot or Inglewood or whatever it is that's
Whatever's going on in Chicago.
We're going to talk about it like we talk about it. So you know that's already going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah. Chicago Famous, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, right here on What's In It for the Black People Media.
What's up, good people? You're listening to I Said What I Said with Toussaint Warner and Herb Howard. You'll never breed a warrior.
Warrior.
And that's what's happening at every angle. They're creating paradigms where we can only raise feminine men.
Yes.
Whether they're homosexual or not, they feminine as shit.
Sure, because all masculinity is toxic.
All masculinity is toxic in a war-torn society where the dominant society is saying to your ass, we don't never want no warriors.
Right.
You bastards.
Any book you've ever read, you can read the Bible, goddammit. When they go and they destroy some shit, they kill all the boy babies.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't even want you growing up to think you're gonna do some shit to me.
Animals do the same thing. If I come over here and I take over this village now or whatever, like this gonna be my pride. First thing I'm doing, killing the male boys, like killing the male babies.
Don't you even grow up with no attitude,
Don't you
little
even
nigga.
think about it.
Yeah,
okay?
bitch. Yeah.
Right. You ain't my daddy, you damn right I ain't your daddy. Fuck your fort, little nigga.
Fuck your fort.
You're not my dad.
Oh man, I hate that I laugh at this shit in public.
That's real.
I hate that I laugh at this stuff in public.
That's real though, right? Tucson Warner and Herb Howard live on What's in It for the Black People Media, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
WIFTBPN.
And we're back. Salim Muwakil here on Muwakil's World. And my guest today is Sister Yaounde Olu, Dr. Yaounde Olu. And we were talking about her interest in astrology, what triggered it, and some intricacies about it. And I've just in this short discourse learned quite a bit about how you can make certain kind of generalizations because of planetary situations, astrological variations, and that was what stumped me about astrology, is just how variable everything is. These universal variables, how can you possibly make any kind of prediction or projection according to those universal variables? And she's made that plain.
Let me explain describe it another way. When December rolls around, we know what the weather is. We know that for the most part, we're probably going to have to wear coats if things continue as they have. In astrology, there's also that astrological weather. So certain resonances tend to dominate or predominate during certain time periods. And many of these are predictable. So you know that it's predictable that you'll have to wear a coat in December, and it's predictable that during the dog days of summer, you're probably going to have to take off your clothes, or...
More or less.
Right. That didn't come out right. But the basic idea is that we're all connected. And every civilization on this planet that has demonstrated so-called civilization technologically or whatever, even back in the prehistoric times, those people have had some type of connection with the stars. And let me say this, with the zodiac, when we talk about Aries, Taurus, Gemini, blah, 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 there are so many variables in the universe. I mean, there are comets, asteroids.
Exactly.
But what has happened is that generally each civilization recognizes that what happens on the ecliptic is a convenient way to categorize things. So that the ecliptic that's that central band, like around the equator, but it's not. It's where the planets are in a particular plane, very around, and they pass by what is called the zone of animals, or the astrological Aries, Taurus, those constellations.
Okay.
That's the word I'm trying to think of. So the Chinese people, they have another system, set of systems, but they're all based on the proximity and dealing with those planetary bodies not planetary, those cosmic bodies, for lack of a better word, that are close to the plane of the ecliptic. so that these are the ones that they tell time by. When you look at a horoscope, basically, and this was the clue that people missed, the horoscope is a picture of the hour. Horoscope, scope, a picture of the hour.
Okay.
So a horoscope is not just, like I said before, not something that's causing something. We're looking at what's happening around us to see what time it is. That's what it is. And certain things have tended to happen at certain times. And and like I said, it's just like real weather. But there is an internal weather that happens on the internal plane, and it's vibrational or resonance based. There are actually those philosophers who opine that we are enmeshed, we are in a dodecahedral structure of space-time.
What's a dodecahedral?
Well, 12 faces, 20 edges.
Okay, I got you.
You know, it's just a certain shape,
geometric
geographic shape, right. And that within that geometric shape, certain things happen. If we want to look on the planet for a corollary on the planet, we can look at the pyramids. People have found that actually in pyramids, there are certain energies that converge that have an impact on whatever's in that pyramid based on the shape. So you've heard of people putting razors in the pyramid
and sharpening them. It's still a practice.
Right. And there's a right, and there's a saying that God geometrizes. So,
but you know, a lot, as Mays pointed out, there are a lot of religious groups who think of astrology as being demonic or satanic, somehow anti-theological, anti-God. How do you respond to those kinds of issues?
Well, as I said to Mays, you know, you must be a Christian, because Christianity has one way of looking at it. But then if you look at every other group, you have people who have studied astrology. You know, the Chinese have it, the Buddhists have it, the ancient Mayans had it. They never would consider observing and understanding cosmic principles as satanic. It's only in Christianity that I know of. If somebody else knows differently,
no, because Islam features a star and a crescent, and it's very insignia.
And in Christianity, I was with a group of people. We did a conference a couple of years ago where astrology is throughout the Bible. We can point all throughout the Bible the basic elements of astrology. But let me just say this. For a long time now, I have distrusted the biblical version of events, because it's clear from Genesis that we are told that we are not to have certain knowledge. And for example, when Adam, theoretically Adam, whoever that was, because there were pre-Adamic people before Adam, because when Cain killed Abel, he went east of Eden to the land of Nod and got a wife. Now, where did he get her? But that's another story. The thing is, they put, when Adam and Eve in the Bible, when we look at that particular story, when they saw them in the Bible, and Adam and Eve saw that they were naked, the angels or whoever it was, a God, said, let us keep, since man has eaten of the tree of knowledge, let us guard the way from the tree of life from him, lest he become as one of the gods, or lest he become like us. And by the way, you know, Elohim is a dual term that represents gods, not one God. If you look in, there are two creations in Genesis. There's the creation in Genesis 1, the first chapter of Genesis. Then the next one is when Adam and Eve were made. But in the first chapter, that's when the Elohim made man in his image, male and female created he them, or created they them. But Elohim is a conjoined term that means a group of groups. masculine and feminine together.
In Hebrew?
Yes, I guess so. Yes, certainly. And so what I'm trying to say is that they said it right there up in your face in Genesis. Let us hide knowledge from humanity. We don't want them to know stuff.
That is
and
true.
And so because
true.
of that, and then they said...
So there's an anti-intellectual bias, you're saying, in Christianity.
Exactly. And they're saying, so let's put... we're putting 4, I can't remember, it was cherubim or seraphim, whatever it was, in 4 places. Let us use 4 swords all around. Well, in astrological and tarot philosophy, a sword is information. It's the air. And so the way that they keep us from understanding the deeper levels of life is through communication, through information. The 4 swords at the 4 levels in Genesis. Let us put the 4 swords and turn them all around so man won't, be able to eat of the tree of life. And then if you want to, the same thing, similar stuff happened. If you go back to the Epic of Gilgamesh, he wanted to be like the gods. Theoretically, Gilgamesh was half divine. And so
you have considerable biblical knowledge. Were you ever seriously interested in biblical studies or Christianity?
Well, basically, I'm a Christian now.
Okay.
But I'm not a Christian that looks like anything that you might imagine.
Okay.
Yes, I am a Christian.
Okay.
Because the teachings that the entity that we call Christ, the Christ person that was his title. Jesus became the Christ theoretically during the point of baptism. Mm-hmm. So the Christ has to do basically with the crystalline or the crystal consciousness that we can reach when we reach a certain level of understanding.
So you claim you claim that identification, and yet you in some ways indict the Bible for being anti-intellectual. How do you
well, I don't think
that?
the Bible is totally Christian. The Bible has been edited, I think when we did our thing, it's been edited at least 13, 14 times. They've been very selective about what has been included in it. Because once again, when you control what people think, let us keep man from being knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. Then you only allow certain types of information to be understood. Mm-hmm. And those people who reach enlightenment are able to move beyond I've mentioned it before, I call it a frequency fence. There are only certain things that you will be able to understand based on stuff that comes from the outside. Being able to understand things that are outside of your conditioning becomes almost impossible for a lot of people. Wait, let's take the example. I know I'm jumping around, but let's take the example.
Jump around, baby, jump around.
But let's take the example of what's happening with the Trump folks right now. Those people believe some of the most incredible things. And they believe, you can tell them, and Trump even said it himself, I could kill somebody, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, mm-hmm. and people will still love me, blah, blah, blah. So,
it's break time, y'all. We'll be back right after this.
WIFTVPM.
This secure moment is brought to you by Secure Home and Automation, your premier authorized Bring security dealer. Home invasions occur every 23 seconds, fire every 85 seconds, and medical emergencies occur suddenly. In times like these, get secured home and automation and an affordable wireless home alarm system with professional monitoring. This includes fast emergencies response, free security analysis, free equipment, and free installation. A limited time offer, be proactive. Call today, don't delay. 708-251-5069. That's 708-251-5069. Call now, 708-251-5069, or visit our website, securehomeandautomation.com. Secure Home and Automation, where your life safety is our priority. It brings authorized dealers, certain restrictions apply.
The birthday line is, easily, or the birthday bash, whatever you want to call it.
Our hit record.
That's our hit record.
That's our hit record.
That's our one. That's my girl.
That's my girl by the Temptations. Like no matter where we go, we gotta do that.
Are you ready to go down?
Yes, we are.
Come on, who's this on that birthday line?
It's Randy and Mimi.
And how old are you on this day?
I'm 14, I'm 13.
Go ahead, it's your birthday. Go ahead.
Definitely let out twins.
Where y'all from? Where y'all from?
Ida B.
Bad boys gotta say about
Ida B.
From WGCI. That's 3 down. 2 more.
Old projects.
Still on the show called. It's your birthday. Go, 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 go. Question.
Hey, she doing the question.
No more to go. Done with the show cause it's your birthday. Hey, let that play.
It took that.
I'm tired just listening to that.
Chicago Famous, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, right here on What's in It for the Black People Media.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, or you can find them online at solobeauty.com.
WIFTBPN.
And we're back, y'all. Salim Muwakil here on Muwakil's World, and I have with me Dr. Yaounde Olu. And we were talking about Trump's irrational followers and how, and how it's hard to get things past their emotions.
Yes, and that's true for all of us for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
We respond to whatever we've been conditioned to, which creates a certain emotional resonance in us. And so we're, for the most part, not going to believe anything that's outside of what we believe. For example, with the Trump folks, and important in that is that there's usually an element of truth.
Right.
There's usually
so when you hit on the table,
right, and I couldn't hear it here. There's usually an element of truth that goes along with it, which makes things believable.
Mm-hmm.
So, with, for example, the fact that people there's more than one group who believes that Trump is the Messiah.
I know that even before QAnon became prominent,
Right.
there were other groups who were talking that stuff.
Right. In fact, there was a guy in 1983, a former U.S. a war veteran of World War II, I believe it was. He moved to Italy, and he devoted his life basically to God. Praying. He lived in a town which was close to the Vatican, and so he would spend all day in the Vatican. He'd go to Mass in Italy like 4 or 5 times a day, and then go home pray. And he met a priest, an American priest, who was visiting Italy in 1983, and he told that priest, he said, Donald Trump, you have someone named Donald Trump, and he's going to save the world at some point. He's going to be the savior for at least the American public. And the priest said, "Oh, that's ridiculous. You know, he's a playboy. You know, at that time he was just known as someone who was dating starlets."
Where is this documented? Where is this?
There's a, I work for the Crusaders, so I did an editorial on it, but on YouTube, just there's the priest, and there's a show on YouTube where they talk about it, but I've seen it more than once.
Yeah, and by the way, Dr. Yaounde is also an editorialist for the Crusader, editorial writer and a cartoonist.
Right, exactly. And the calendar, but that's another story. So what he said was, what he told the priest, visiting priest, he said, this Donald Trump, is going to change the world through saving the United States. And at that time, and maybe it still happens, the Vatican has this door with bricks in it that, each year, you can put these bricks in it. So he actually put Donald Trump's name on a brick to tell them, look in the future. He's going to play a big part in what happens. And quite frankly, in my opinion, it has come true, because what has happened is that it has been revealed to us the underbelly of society through Donald Trump.
Okay. he's
he's
performed a perverse purpose.
Exactly.
But tell me, what about the notion that he represents? He's like the avatar of white recrudescence. That white people are afraid of their diminished dominance in this society. Demographers say that by mid-century, they will no longer be in a numerical majority. And there's a lot of demographic anxiety out there among white folks. And how do you think that plays into it?
Oh, I think it plays into it big time. And although I don't think that Trump is that smart in that regard, I think he's a genius in terms of being able to influence people. I mean, he has North Node in Gemini conjunct his sun, so he's always been able to put his pulse.
A North Node?
The North Node of the moon. That's generally when the North Node of the moon is conjunct any of your planets. Conjunct meaning close together or lined up with in resonance with a particular planet. Then people, that kind of person can get people to follow them because they know what to say.
Okay.
And he's very much in that way. But I think he's an opportunist more than anything else. I read his niece's book, and I've also, the way he was raised. He was raised to, for the most part, be an opportunist and to value strength and to despise weakness.
Right.
So
and apologies are considered weakness.
Yes, yes, and so yes, there are. This is not something that have you heard of the book? I know you have, The Birth Dearth.
Yes, I have.
Okay, so that shows you right there that there are many white people who are concerned. And by the way, just look at what's happening with us as people. African Americans, we've gone through the Middle Passage. We have been beaten, burned, knocked down, drug out, but yet everything that we put our minds to, we excel in every single thing.
Yes, ma'am.
And someone said, well, what about hockey, ice hockey? And it turns out that African American slaves who had left here and gone to Greenland, I think it was, were the ones who created ice hockey.
There you go.
So the bottom line is that we excel. Venus, Serena, Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, and just scores of other people. Part of going back to another idea, part of what's happening with this frequency fence is that black people are painted as being less than. When you say blacks, people are surprised that someone would have telephones or televisions in their home and would teach people, and that everybody's not in poverty. Let me say it that way. There are far more people who are excelling among African Americans than society is willing to admit and that we believe ourselves. We tend to believe that
in our own inadequacy.
Exactly. And what concerns me is that it's like creating a rut. You imagine a wheel going over and over this territory the same way over and over again, and pretty soon you have a little rut there, and it's hard to get out of it, and you don't realize there's something outside of the rut. We are in a psychological rut right now, and it's not just black people, it's white people too. So that when you say Black Lives Matter, people think that we need Black Lives to matter because Black lives don't matter, and we're all downtrodden. But if we really pay attention, we are far more, we're far greater than what people think. So the belief that we're less than is what's keeping us back. So I just had to throw that out there.
That's a nice thing to throw out. And we did take a pretty nice diversion into the astrology thing, but that was triggered by a discussion about what's going on now with all of these plagues and pandemics and racial discord and all that in the world. And how do you were giving us an astrological layout of why that's happening.
Yes, there is. We have major planets, Pluto, in Capricorn, Jupiter squaring sextile Neptune.
Hold that for a minute. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
WIFTBPM.
Cootie Simmons, of course. I just knew you as Cootie,
right?
From Channel Zero.
I mean, that's how we know him. We just know him as Cootie.
Now let's talk about this joint that you guys recently dropped. You directed the Stephon Marbury documentary, A Kid from Coney Island, that's on Netflix right now.
When they came to us about the project, I was like, Stephon Marbury, I'm thinking Tim Hardaway. I'm like, man, Marcus Liberty. I'm like, Stephon. I
Chicago,
don't know
still
New
Chicago.
York. I don't know Stephon. Right, I'm thinking exactly. I know how to tell Chicago story good,
Chicago famous, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, right here on What's in It for the Black People Media.
Hi, I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. In my life, I've gone from cotton field to corporate boardroom. I've seen great success and walked many roads. I know how it feels not to have. I'm asking you to vote for me for U.S. Senate for the state of Illinois. I can do the work that few others may understand. A vote for me is a step in the right direction for our state and our country.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, or you can find them online at solobeauty.com.
You're listening to I Said What I Said with Toussaint Warner and Herb Howard. Well, what was the power of the Bible? Most motherfuckers couldn't read. So the Bible legitimately changed the world because motherfuckers began to learn to read. And once I can learn to read, wait a minute, I can question some of this bullshit you talking
What school you go to though?
It don't matter.
A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Well, no,
I went to Dunbar.
Yes!
Let's say Dunbar.
Oh, it's good.
People disrespect the city schools. This Chicago. And I'm a motherfucking genius.
And that's on period.
Shout out to the mighty man. Nah, I'm just playing. But seriously though, think about it though, right? The Bible legitimately changed the world, right? What's up, good people? You're listening to I Said What I Said with Toussaint Warner and Herb Howard live on What's in It for the Black People Media, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
So, D-Ray, I wanted to ask you, so do you have a bad boy radio moment? Do you remember an event that you were at that we were hosting or something we did on the radio that really stayed with you?
Okay. Something y'all did on the radio that stayed with me was letting me get on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's true.
That was my step in the door. It was my opportunity to get into GCI, which I started working, there. You guys got me on Sundays and all that stuff. And it introduced me to doing more characters because I would do characters on your guys' show. I don't even remember what the hell I was doing then, but you guys was just letting me go, and that freedom didn't exist nowhere in radio.
Yeah, and it doesn't exist anymore, which is what we're starting to hear and we see when it comes to radio. Chicago famous, 3 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, right here on What's in It for the Black People Media.
We fun guy. Where's tomorrow? Fun guy, what's up, baby?
What it do, baby?
Yeah, yo, what do you
You know what
know?
I'm saying? So I'll be telling you.
What's going on, Chicago? What's in it for the Black People Media presents?
I want to go higher. Oh my God.
Call your sons, call your daughters, call your friends, call your neighbors.
The Big Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. with Eugene McIntosh and Terrence Tomlin. We got what you need right here on What's in it for the Black People Media.
Biggest threat to Illinois citizens from Washington is health care costs and policies. Senior citizens have their Social Security reduced from Medicaid, and some of our senior citizens live off $3 a week for food allowance. Working families are facing bankruptcy over policy and limit and cost. Drug prices require decisions between food and Medicaid. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. Vote for me and send me to Washington. God bless.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
WIFTBPN.
And we're back. Salim Muwakil here on Muwakil's World. My guest today is Dr. Yaounde Olu. We were talking about Pluto and Neptune. Go ahead, so run that down.
Yes, and then right now they're squaring Mars in Aries, so the fires. But ultimately what's been happening is that we're experiencing a long period of transformation politically. Mm-hmm. Socially, geographically, our geography is probably going to change when the smoke clears after all of this, and we're being called upon to have a whole new world order. Now, I don't know if it's the world order that Bush and those folks were talking about, but the world is changing. It's transforming, and there is a war going on. I remember when I've been very curious about what's happening with Donald Trump, because some of the things that they talk about I know were true. So that my question, I knew that there was a war going on, and I couldn't figure out what side Donald Trump was on. My assumption has always been that he was on the evil side, because it's Donald Trump against the deep state, so to speak. So who's right, the deep state or Donald Trump?
You think that dichotomy is an accurate dichotomy?
Yes, I do. I think that's what's happening. Okay. Have you ever seen journalists like MSNBC and these other folks actually come out in such a biased manner?
Yeah, and that's true.
It's justified in my opinion, but it's not what journalism has been.
No, that's true. It is absolutely unique.
Right. So that's because there's a war going on. There are those people who don't sanction him. They don't want him in power. And then you have those people who want him in power. So the question is, who's lined up with who? Who is lined up with the good guys and girls, and who's lined up with the bad guys and girls, so to speak. But the bottom line is that...
Does astrology offer an answer?
The answer is that it will depend, that's the pitting against each other that's happening. That's what the astrology is showing. The direction that we go in will be determined by how many people line up with each side. So it's not predestined per se in that regard.
Where do black folks fit in this?
I think I've mentioned this before too. And people really get upset when I tell people that my grandfather was like the first African American, first Grand Master of the Masons, where in the town that he lived in. And he used to tell us.
Your grandfather was a Grand Master?
Yeah.
No wonder. Go ahead.
Right.
That's where you get some of this stuff from. I see.
Well, nobody in my family is proud of that. I'm the only one who's been,
Well, masonry is some serious stuff.
It is, and that's another thing I'd like to talk about in a minute. But he used to say that everything is going to be, he said, what's going to happen with the United States is that the whites and reds are going to have a clash. And the direction that everything goes in will be determined by blacks. So, in other words, if you want to look at, for example, America and the Russians, for example, that might be an example. But that black people would be the determining force, that we will determine which direction the world goes in. And right now, it really looks that way, even with the election. What we do.
I mean, look at the reaction to the George Floyd murder. I mean, it was absolutely worldwide.
Worldwide.
I mean, Syria,
Worldwide.
ruined mosque in Syria had photographs of George Floyd on them.
That's incredible.
It's incredible.
Incredible.
And that's just one example. I mean, Brussels, amazing.
And that's why I say, going back to the power that we have as people, it's really important for us to be targeted, and to be made to believe that we are less than, that we're powerless, and to encourage us to kill each other, and to think that we're always going to be on the downside. White supremacy doesn't mean anything unless it's balanced by black power, and by that what I mean is that you can't be supreme unless there's an imbalance. But so they have to convince black people that you're less than.
Subordinate.
Right. But the truth of the matter is, I go back to it. You name any area that we've been involved with, we excel in everything. Everything. And we do it playing by ear sometimes,
But why is there so much carnage in our communities? Why are so many of our neighborhoods dystopian?
You know what? When people ask me that, it's amazing that we don't see the answer right away. The answer is very clear. Through the airwaves, we have been inundated with a constant diet of self-hatred.
The music, you're saying.
The music, even housewives of were they black, the housewives of Atlanta? I don't think I've ever seen
the housewives thing.
But all these people, they make us hate each other. Even on Facebook, you can see it. People that when people excel, they constantly put propaganda out there that makes us hate one another. The situation now with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, where it's very clear to me that it's crucial that we unify behind Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in order to have some leverage come November 3rd. And I say leverage because I'm not quite, with Uranus in opposition to the sun on that day, I mean, all heck can break loose, but the bottom line.
So you're aligning yourself with the sides that are anti-Trump.
Yes. Okay. Oh, of course.
All right.
How could
I mean, you sounded rather objective when you were laying it out earlier.
Oh well, I look at things that way.
Okay.
I look at things usually in an objective way, so that I can make a decision based on looking at it, and not decision based on my emotions. And so, yes, no, of course not. Of course not. I think, frankly,
there are several black folks who are pro-Trump. In fact, some of them are responding on this on the chat here. People think that Trump is an appropriate figure.
I know, and that's what I was trying to get to. That when I was saying that we've been targeted to believe that. I mean, how can someone believe that Kamala Harris and Biden will be worse for the country than what this impeached individual is doing? I mean, he's said, and he's talked about wanting to have a 12-year term. He's basically very adept at causing schism between people.
Yes.
That's how I can tell. I can always tell when something's evil and when it's not. The evil side is always moving toward creating dissension, creating schism. And it's very clear to me where he's coming from. And really, if I wanted to look at it from a Christian standpoint, I think he's the closest thing that we've had to what's called an antichrist ever. If you think of Christ as being that spirit of love that people are supposed to have, he's very clearly opposite that. And interestingly, the matriarch of his family, the one his grandmother, the one that was married to Frederick Trump, the one when they came out from Europe to the United States, her maiden name is Christ.
Wow.
Her maiden name is Christ. I thought that was interesting.
No wonder there's so much affection for Trump in certain circles. You know, they think he has this hidden.
But he's not the positive. I mean, it's very clear to me because I knew that he was at war with those invisible individuals behind the scenes that he calls the deep state.
The deep state.
Yeah, I knew that he was at war with them. The question is, what side is he on? It's very clear looking at the over almost 200,000 people dead in the United States in comparison to everywhere else in the world. Nowhere else are they approaching those numbers like we are. The schism, the destruction that has gone on under his wake. I mean, it was the most ridiculous idea of all is the fact that he continues to say, these are the things that you can expect in a Biden America if you don't elect me. But yet they're going on
now,
under him
right
now. I mean, that's
in
kind
his
of
America.
I mean, so, you know, they're drinking the Kool-Aid. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, you know, Trump this deep state thing, you know, we used to say deep state. Those of us on the left or the critics of American power used to characterize it as the deep state, that no matter who's in office, the essential agenda of American white supremacy is going to go on unhampered. And that was our notion of what the deep state was. And now Trump is taking that imagery, or his forces are taking that imagery and making it something else. And that's an interesting turn of events. And also, does that mean that you're saying that the deep state forces are the forces of good in this confrontation between Trump and them?
No, that's the quandary. That's the issue, because that's why I said, now, if he's opposing them, and I know that there is this control, you know, where does he fit? Well, there's war in heaven. Let's put it that way. You know, the higher powers, higher on a material plane. That is, the extremely wealthy people behind the scenes, those who are controlling what we see, those of the ilk of the Bilderbergers, those folks, there is a control of the planet that goes on behind the scene. There is a deep state, but they're at war with another aspect. They're split among themselves. That's what it looks like to me.
I hear
because
that.
Pizzagate, I do believe, was real.
You mean the QAnon conspiracy thing, where they
right,
thought
but
that
but the players may not be. The concept, I believe, is real.
Now, what is the concept? That there's this coven of child molesters hidden in a pizza parlor?
No, I think that the pizza parlor was their contact point. You know, where they would make arrangements. But the bottom line is that for years, they've talked. Even I won't put David Icke's name in this. I know some of your listeners.
I have a correspondent who often brings up David Icke's name.
I think David Icke is an unsung hero, quite frankly. And I remember when a friend and I were going to bring him to Chicago. That's when he was only charging $1,200 for a day long session, and then a couple of them got cold feet, and so we decided not to do it. And he's so vilified.
Vilified is a good place to take a break. We will be right back right after this.
WIFTBPN.
Is it really a good idea to have the same senator for 3 generations? I support term limit for all elected officials. Our senators need to bring home growth for our business community, jobs, housing, service for our senior citizens, and health care. We need new ideas and new approach to federal representation. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. Vote for me and send me to Washington, D.C. God bless.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, or you can find them online at solobeauty.com.
You can expect the unexpected.
We're getting pushed up to 200. Let's get these numbers up, people. Come on. We're trying to compete with Mays Jackson numbers, right?
Right. Don't forget.
We're lacking right now.
If you share it,
share the video so we can get our numbers. For God's sake, we're nowhere near Mays Jackson numbers. If we can get you guys to share, we can at least push 200 in the next 3 minutes. All right? By 3:45, I want us to be at 200.
Oh, yeah. This is the black portion of what's in it for the Black People Radio.
That we can do the
this
time.
Is the black portion, the blackest portion of the show.
It's what's in it for the Black People Media.
Chicago Famous, 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, right here on What's in It for the Black People Media.
You can hang out with Chicago Famous Mike Love and Diz 3 to 6 p.m. right here on What's in It for the Black People Media, live on the Mace Jackson page. So shout out to Chicago Famous. They did their thing. They did a phenomenal job. Those brothers, listen, radio legends, right? And you come in and you're used to doing things one way and trying to flip it and do another way. They handled it seamlessly, man. So shout out to Mike Love and Diz for holding it down as they always have done. Welcome to the What's in It for the Black People Media family. Good luck at achieving number 2 status for the second best show on What's in It for the Black People Media, because number 1 is and always will be I Said What I Said.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
Whenever I play, I want to play to win. I don't see no purpose in playing.
You play to win the game.
What's the word?
In the famous
Can
words.
you beat my ass though?
Can you whoop my ass though?
It's really that simple. I don't plan on getting my ass whooped.
Hey, yo, wait a minute. Hey.
Chicago Famous, they can whoop my ass.
And Chicago
we
Famous.
We not here for no ass whoop.
Hey, what's your problem, man? Y'all are brothers. You ain't supposed to be fighting each other.
We not here for no ass whoop.
That's not what we here for.
We're not here for no ass whoop.
It's not what we here for.
Not at all.
What's up, good people? You're listening to I Said What I Said with Tucson Warner and Herb Howard, live on What's in It for the Black People Media, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
WIFTBPN.
And we're back. Salim Muwakil here on Muwakil's World. And I have with me the fantastic Dr. Yaounde Olu, bringing forth some amazing wisdom. And, we were talking about the Trump thing and how Yaounde was in, there's a dilemma there in that Trump is against the deep state, but the deep state is not such a benign entity either. So who to root for in this confrontation?
Well, let me say, I think that they're more benign than Trump's side.
Okay.
Way more benign. I believe that the democratic experience and the Constitution that set up this society, I think it was a worthwhile experiment, and that's exactly what it was. I believe that this experiment could very well come to a close if Donald Trump stays in office. And I think it's possible that he will do everything, and I know I'm parroting what a lot of people have said. He'll do whatever he can.
But you have astrological backup.
I'll tell you this, it's unpleasant, and for those people who do know astrology, on November 3rd, the sun is conjunct, his natal sun is conjunct the North Node in Gemini, the part that I said, gets people to follow what you say, great gift of gab and what have you. But at the same time, the moon that day is in Gemini. So he may get a lot of unexpected support that we don't know about. Or things may tend to move in his favor, but not necessarily without strife and war. We are definitely moving toward civil war because we're already in a psychological civil war. We're already in a de facto war. We're not de jure yet, but I think that
who are the antagonists in this?
I believe the antagonists are the extreme folks on the opposite side of both coins. So that you have Antifa, which is I think that they've developed out of necessity because of white supremacy, because of the Nazism that's going on.
The tough guy, the testosterone-laden image that Trump is pushing, they want to present an alternative testosterone-laden.
Exactly. That's one of the automatic nature. That's the automatic nature of the underpinning of our planet, and our way of being. That you always have, whenever you have one side, you're always going to have something to come up and balance it. And so,
Newton's third law, right?
Pardon me?
Newton's third law.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Blah 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 blah. So I think that, but I don't think that I'm not afraid of, and how do we say
Antifa?
Antifa. I'm not afraid of them. I think that they are the warriors on the side of, maybe, can I use the word righteous?
you can use it if you would like.
And I don't have these things all figured out, cut and dry like that, but I do believe that Antifa is on the
right side.
Right side. And
the guy, for example, just incidentally, the guy who was suspected of shooting the Trump supporter in Portland, they're now saying that agents simply assassinated him when they went to arrest him after singling him out as the possible assailant in this murder on the streets of Portland. When they went to arrest him, a witness say they didn't even warn him or anything. They just approached him and just began shooting.
Okay, let me just say this flat out. This is what I believe. No holds barred.
No holds barred.
We're experiencing the rise of the Fourth Reich.
Whoa.
That's what I believe. So
no equivocation, no astrological equivocation.
We are experiencing the rise of the Fourth Reich, which never did go away, by the way. The Third Reich was never defeated. What happened during World War II, that was a battle. We won that battle, but we didn't win the war. The war has been ongoing. In fact, right after World War II, the United States, through what's called Operation Paperclip, brought the Nazis, Werner von Braun and that ilk, they brought them here to the United States, and they were the ones who founded our space program. Werner von Braun was the head of NASA at a particular point.
Incidentally, have you read Isabel Wilkinson's book Cast?
No, I'm just ordering it.
Yeah.
I'm just
magnificent.
getting it.
She makes those connections between the Nazi regime and this country's Jim Crow regime, and how the Nazi regime was absolutely informed by this country's Jim Crow regime.
Oh, it was. We not only did we help, and the Vatican too, but we helped. The Nazis came in and they were infused in every aspect of our society. We helped some go to South America. We helped that
Argentina
group.
And
right.
Chile.
But they never, even Bush's grandfather, Prescott Bush, during the Second World War, was sanctioned for doing business with the enemy. The Bush people helped, and I believe they helped fund the IG, the ones who made the Zyklon B gas. the Nazi regime. They were supporters of the Nazi regime. They came over here through Bush, because he was the head of the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
He knew what was going on undercover with, what do you call it? Anyway, the bottom line is, I believe that the Fourth Reich is here, and I think that what Trump has done, he has actually created his own militia. People kind of play that down, like when he threatened to send the feds to the cities to quell the violence. The bottom line is, he wasn't necessarily talking about the National Guard. He was talking about that group of insignia-less entities that for a while refused to even say who they were. And so now they're saying that it was probably connected with Betsy DeVos's brother's outfit, Blackwater.
Blackwater, right.
And
which was very influential in Iraq and the destruction of Iraq.
Right, but I do think that the Nazis they lost that battle, but they didn't lose the war. And I think that they're sliding in under Trump. I believe that the Fourth Reich is trying to rear its
certainly the
head.
Germans, the neo-Nazis in Germany have adopted Trump as their avatar.
Well, Trump he's German.
Yes, he is.
That's his background. And it's also interesting that...
And which is so, knowing all of this, it really is quite astounding, really, that there are so many African Americans who still throw their support to this cat, although they realize that they have to understand the forces that he represents.
I'm wondering if the self-hate that I talked about, that we've been encouraged to embrace, is creating that frequency fence that will not allow us to think clearly. Because the more emotions you have connected with something, the less logical you will be about it. And we are being very emotional about, this is a very emotional time for all of us. It's a time of war. It's ideological war right now, but it could turn into something very real, if things keep going in the direction that they're going. And I think that the self-hatred is so strong among us, which we've been encouraged to have this self-hatred, that we're not thinking clearly. I mean, how else can you look at what's happening and see the in-your-face stuff that Trump is doing and have any other conclusion? How can you hate Kamala Harris more than you can hate what's happening in the White House? How can you? And by the way, did you see when they had their Republican convention, which wasn't actually a convention? It was a week-long rally. Melania came out dressed in military.
Yeah, I saw that. Right.
I mean, they're showing you right up front in your face what's going on, and I don't know why we're not looking at this.
Well,
other than the emotions.
Let me make this supposition. Let's say break time. We'll be back, and I'll make the supposition then. We'll be back.
WIFTBPM.
What's up, good people? You're listening to I Said What I Said with Toussaint Warner and Herb Howard. You'll never breed a warrior.
Warriors, come out to play.
Shh. You hear that? And that's what's happening at every angle. They're creating paradigms where we can only raise feminine men. Whether they're homosexual or not, they feminine as shit.
Sure, because all masculinity is toxic.
All masculinity is toxic in a war-torn society where the dominant society is saying to your ass, we don't never want no warriors.
Right.
You bastards. Any book you've ever read, you can read the Bible, goddammit. When they go and they destroy some shit, they kill all the boy babies.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't even want you growing up to think you're going to do some shit to me.
Animals do the same thing.
If I come over here and I take over this village now or whatever, like this gonna be my pride. First thing I'm doing, killing the male boys, like killing the male babies.
Don't you even grow up with that attitude,
Don't you
little
even think about it.
Ever.
Okay?
Bitch.
Right. You ain't my daddy, you damn right I ain't your daddy. Fuck your fort, little nigga.
Fuck your fort.
You're not my dad.
Oh man, I hate that I laugh at this shit in public.
That's real.
I hate that I laugh at this stuff in public.
That's real though, right? Toussaint Warner and Herb Howard live on What's in It for the Black People Media, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Hi, I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. So many politicians are bought by special interests and major corporations instead of the citizens who elected them. I would not be bought. I would finance my own campaign in good faith to the voters of Illinois and promise to serve with integrity at all times. I'm asking for your support as I run for U.S. Senator in 2020.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, or you can find them online at solobeauty.com.
WIIFTBPM.
And we're back. Salim Muwakil here on Muwakil's World with Dr. Yaounde Olu, providing an amazingly nourishing diet of intellectual sustenance here. And one thing that we want to talk about that we were getting into was this thing about Trump and what he represents. And you were saying, Yaounde, that he's a wounded individual.
Trump is someone who feels unnurtured. He, believe it or not, he believes a lot of the things he says. Mm-hmm. But because of his Gemini nature, that can change from moment to moment. But each moment he kind of believes what he says. But if you want to know the truth of anything that he's saying, look at the opposite, because he's a textbook case for those people who know about astrology. He's a textbook case of someone whose sun is in opposition to their moon. He is very much a projector. He projects on other people what is absolutely true about himself. Mm-hmm. And
psychologists have made that point very vividly in a collection of opinions that they gathered for a book on Trump. They made that very same point.
Well, astrologers who know astrology for real, it's clear. It's a textbook case. Mm-hmm. You know, I can tell when he's telling when he says ABC, that means that it's the opposite. Mm-hmm. Right, exactly.
But okay, let me run this by you. There are some who say that Trump is in fact a visionary, that he has projected what's going on in the world. These right-wing movements, they're all over the planet. You see groups, especially in Eastern Europe, populist right-wing movements are growing, similar to what's happening in this country. You see it in Britain and all over. And these folks are saying that Trump has seen this development happening, and he wanted to get in front of it to prevent it from taking a more insidious turn, the Nazi turn that it could take if a more unprincipled leader were to ascend into leadership. He's trying to subvert that by becoming a leader and heading this off in a more benign direction.
I wish I could think of a word that was really strong that's not a curse word.
You can
to
curse.
respond to that.
You can curse.
Trump is not thinking, he may have recognized that movement,
mm-hmm.
but not so that he could be a savior of that movement. He's using it for his own benefit, so to speak. He doesn't go that deep. He doesn't, he's not thinking about broad issues like that. He's thinking about what benefits me, and not only what benefits me at this particular moment. Because there's a part of him that's just really, for lack of a better word, just fluctuating, fickle.
Mm-hmm.
Fickle. So no, there's a movement, but I think he's plugged into that movement, and quite frankly, I think he's being used by that movement. I really do. He's enamored of the strong guys on the planet, and that's who he values, and that's how he grew up valuing that. His dad hated his older brother Frederick
to the Wi-Fi network. You might want to check
because
the connection settings in the Google Home app.
his dad hated his older brother because his older brother didn't have a lot of wasn't, ruthless like the rest of them.
You say you've done a lot of study of Trump's development. You've done charts on him and whatnot, and and read his sister's book, and you've concluded that he is a pathological individual.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I think that he's an individual. Well, if you think that just being super selfish, not being concerned about other people, not worrying about the consequences of their behavior, all of the things. I mean, the guy is talking about getting rid of. He's trying to cut Medicare. He's trying to cut Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's trying to undo the New Deal. Basically, I mean, if you want to look at it.
But that's an ideological mission of a lot of conservatives. It's not necessarily an evil mission, would you say? I would say.
It's
but
evil when you look at the number of people who will die as a result of it.
Mm-hmm.
For example, right now, Trump doesn't seem to be bothered at all by the number of people who are perishing based on decisions that he made to withhold information and to withhold actions. So. No, I think that if there's a person who comes close to being evil, I think he's one of. And I personally don't like to call somebody evil, but I think that if anybody can be called evil, he's one person who comes close to it. And only because it's self-interest.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really concerned about anything.
Ego concerns.
Right. Right, and I also think, like I said, he's insecure. There's a part of him that's very, very insecure. He calls himself, what kind of genius is it?
Stable genius.
Stable genius.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really believe that. His sister talked about how he couldn't even pass the SAT. He didn't. He had other people take his test in college. So, the covers are being pulled off on him. So, and in a way, I feel sorry for him because he's just inept in so many ways, but he's a brilliant man when it comes to figuring out how to control people. Now, I think he has somebody like Herbert Hoover under his on his side working with him. Well, they had the dossier on everybody, and otherwise, why would the Republican Party has become just a shadow of its former self.
It has indeed, and that's really the curious part of this, is why are so many people who you once would have thought had enough propriety to withstand the kinds of impotence and insecurity that you talk about that Trump is exhibiting. It would seem that they would be able to resist that, but they don't. They're not able to. They're complicit.
It's Trump's ability to control people. He's excelled in that way all his entire life, and one of the reasons to talk about the dysfunction in his family. I mean, when can you think of someone's relative publishing a book that's trying to pull down their relative who was the president of the United States?
It's really incredible. I mean, as you say, there's so much evidence that testifies to his inadequacy that it's a wonder that we are not all saying, hey, get rid of this guy in unison, but there's a big crowd that likes him with guns.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that's the scary thing. With us as people, let me just say this, I keep going back to the power that we have that we don't know we have, and that we're being bamboozled.
How can we be convinced of our own power? What do you think it would take for that to happen?
To me, it's logical. I'm just looking at how everything we do, we excel in. Everything. I mean, right now, you and I, if you have relatives who were slaves, I mean, we represent survivors. And that's what happens with survivors. You survive because you have to develop strength in order to survive. So those black people right now, I was looking at did you know that Kanye West is richer than Donald Trump.
Yes. Yes, I did know that.
I mean, here's a high school dropout, although he came from a real clearly middle class upbringing. But he's richer than this man, this white supremacist that we're talking about. He's richer.
Because people are saying, Kanye, you're just getting with him because you want some financial benefits. And Kanye said, man, what do I want financial benefits? I'm richer than him.
Right, he is. He has more wealth than Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry. What Tyler Perry? What Oprah? What LeBron? I mean, the Japanese girl. She's taking up the slack left by Serena and Venus. I mean, in every area, we achieve and exceed in every area. Yet we can't figure out a way to control what's happening in our communities. By the way, I would like to say that I met a young man a couple of weeks ago that has a brilliant idea. It's called the National Block Club University. I believe that's what it's called. And he's developed a plan that, if implemented, could help unify black people all over and help us understand our strengths. But it's confusing to me, because it's other than the only thing I can attribute it to is a combination. I'll say this: a combination of self-hatred, which is connected with white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
White supremacists say I'm supreme, so if they're supreme, and then we must be inferior. But they're looking at the inferiority based on technology. We are technoholic, and don't get me wrong. I love my iPhone. I love my computer. Technology right now, it has made it really wonderful for us.
Absolutely.
But that is something that we can excel in too once we put our minds to it, and we're doing it.
Well, yeah, we talked about it a little earlier off air, Yone, because you were a science teacher for so long, and yet you're an artist of great repute. And generally, people think that science and art are contrary sensibilities. How do you combine those two sensibilities in ways that, because you're right, black people have the reputation of being averse to technology and science.
My master's thesis was called The Science of Art.
Wow.
And I think, because...
Combining them both right there.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And if you look at my work, some people call it Afrofuturism, but I was doing it way before they even
You sure were.
came
I
up with
remember
that
it.
name.
Uh-huh.
But it's because of my sense of combining those two worlds that I was doing what I was doing, that I do.
Incidentally, we're going to have a brother on Wednesday, I think, talking about Afrofuturism. Brother Floyd Webb, you know him, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
of course I know Floyd. I've known Floyd for many, many years.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes.
So you were saying?
So anyway, basically, I've always seen a connection between the two, and that's based on the duality that manifests in this particular universe. Because I don't know what's happening in another universe.
Mm-hmm.
But in this universe, we have the opposites coming together to create a third point. It's Hegel all day long.
Dialectics.
Right. And that's that, and it's not just limited to politics, it's limited to everything.
Everything. That's the movement of reality, right?
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't, Marx had something. Marx was no joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people kind of they run away from Marx, but he was a deep cat.
Well, it might have something to do with, didn't his family starve or something?
Yes.
People figure out ways to pull you down or to make you feel less than you are based on stuff that really doesn't even matter a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
But so I believe that as people, we can do whatever it is that we want to do. Haven't you seen on Facebook and other places pictures of these little young kids in Africa who built stuff from the ground up?
I have seen that.
I mean, imagine what they could do if they had schooling.
They were fully nurtured.
Yes.
But you know, that is the problem. I mean, these are exceptions. Our general situation is not good. Our economic mean is not good, and we're going to talk about all of that when we come back from this break.
That rut.
WIFTBPM.
What's up? This is Mike Love.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Diz.
Sounds like Bad Boy Radio.
Yeah, but it's not Bad Boy Radio because we are now Chicago famous, but we are back on the air.
3 to 6, Monday through Friday.
All right, you tell somebody to tell somebody to tell somebody it's going down. Not only will you hear us on air, but you'll be able to see us as well.
What's in it for the Black People Media? Make sure you check us out.
We fun guy. Where's tomorrow? Fun guy, what's up, baby?
What it do, baby?
Yeah, yo, what do you know?
You know what I'm saying? So I'll be telling you.
What's going on, Chicago? What's in it for the Black People Media presents?
I want to go higher. Oh my God.
Call your sons, call your daughters, call your friends, call your neighbors.
The Big Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. with Eugene McIntosh and Terrence Tomlin. We got what you need right here on What's in it for the Black People Media.
Shop at Black-owned and operated Solo Beauty, where you are appreciated and respected. Located at 8158 South Cottage Grove, Solo Beauty can supply all of your black hair care needs. Solo Beauty is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday, or you can find them online at solobeauty.com.
This secure moment is brought to you by Secure Home and Automation, your premier authorized Bring security dealer. Home invasions occur every 23 seconds, fire every 85 seconds, and medical emergencies occur suddenly. In times like these, get secured home and automation and an affordable wireless home alarm system with professional monitoring. This includes fast emergencies response, free security analysis, free equipment, and free installation. A limited time offer, be proactive. Call today, don't delay. 708-251-5069. That's 708-251-5069. Call now, 708-251-5069, or visit our website, securehomeandautomation.com. Secure Home and Automation, where your life safety is our priority. It brings authorized dealers, certain restrictions apply.
Hi, I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. So many politicians are bought by special interests and major corporations instead of the citizens who elected them. I would not be bought. I would finance my own campaign in good faith to the voters of Illinois and promise to serve with integrity at all times. I'm asking for your support as I run for U.S. Senator in 2020.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
WIFTBPM.
And we're back. Salim Muwakil here on Muwakil's World. I have with me the great Dr. Yaounde Olu. And we were talking about a lot of stuff, but there are a lot of people who are thinking theologically. And so Yaounde wanted to touch on this issue of God and what religion has to offer in this issue.
Religion is a word that really has something to do with relicare, or that which you are hooking up, to hook up, or to some people have money as their religion. That's who they believe in, and that's the anchor that they have. Mm-hmm. When it comes to God, someone I saw, they were asking why God let things happen. My idea of God is the sum total, the composite of all there is, especially the intangible side that is connected with the sea of mind that we're embedded in right now. So God represents, it comes through my thoughts, comes through your thoughts, it comes through everybody's thoughts, and what we do. So to me, the sum total of the highest frequency that we can think of, that now there are levels and degrees of Godship, by the way, let me just say that. But the ultimate supreme being in this particular universe would be the highest vibrational level there is. And that's why prayer is important, because when you pray and when you meditate, you're actually accessing that very high frequency level, that Godship. And it's not a an anthropomorphic. Man, I turned this off. It's not this anthropomorphic. That's a crusader. I gotta call them back. It's not the anthropomorphic entity sitting somewhere in the cloud, but it's the highest order of being that we can access. And when you meditate, and when you pray, and when you aspire, the whole notion of aspiring, you can reach that higher level. So the God that we're talking about is not some man somewhere saying Trump is going to do this, we're going to do that. No, the God works through us as consciousness, in my opinion, through frequency, in my opinion. We are surrounded by information. We didn't really understand this before. We didn't understand this before the development of technology and wireless technology. Now we can see that we can be influenced. Right now, we are bombarded by all types of frequencies surrounding us, and proof of that is the fact that we're able to use this microphone and use TV and what have you to communicate.
We just need the antenna to attune to those frequencies.
Exactly, and I think that our hair, among human beings, I think our hair
that was
serves.
Rastafarians used to talk that very much with the whole idea of locks.
Oh, is that why they didn't want to cut their?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Antenna.
Well, yeah, those are our antennas, and so when we talk about God, it's the highest level of consciousness and the highest level of being that we can experience, and so God works through us. Now, let me just say,
sounds a little bit like the Nation of Islam, 5%ers.
Oh, okay.
The man accesses God.
I kind of believe that. Now let me give another side of that. Let's say that there is. I remember when I was an undergraduate, one of the first philosophy courses I had was deism versus theism, and the question is, did God create the world and just let it spin and do what it's going to do?
The clock maker.
Right. So if there
or is he still involved?
Right. So if he's still involved, he could control everything. If he's divine, if he's omnipotent, omniscient.
And we're saying he, which is also a bias.
It's not possible to have a God who's just a he. I mean, everything in our particular universe is bipolar. It's male and female. In fact, the Elohim are male and female. So if they put us aside, I would look at places like the planet as an experiment, where all of these human beings were put here together to figure it out for themselves, to duke it out, to experience xenophobia, to have warfare, to starve each other. And so the end result of that would be apocalyptic. In other words, we would recognize the folly of our ways and create a better world. So I'm just saying, if there is an anthropomorphic God, it would seem to me that would be the outcome, because it's clear that the planet is malevolent by itself. I mean, here we have people dying of all kinds of things constantly, and people, the hatred. If there was a God who had a horse in that game, he would be working. But I think that we identify with the side of God that we personally are able to experience. I personally know that there are divine energies that we're all surrounded in. And
when you say divine,
not mundane.
Okay.
Not mundane. I hate to use language like New Age and divine and all that, because it's stereotypic.
There's stigma attached to it.
Right, stigma attached. They're loaded words. But I do think that there is a divinity that we all have access to, and that the reason some people exceed and others don't is because they're closer to tapping that part of themselves they're closer to that communication.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So when people wonder why did God let this happen, well, if the kind of God that you're talking about does exist, it's deliberate, or it wouldn't happen. God is the God that we're talking about is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent.
Present, right.
Right.
All those omnis, right? I get those omnis mixed up sometimes.
Right.
Too. But yes, that is true. If that God is the one that you worship, then don't be surprised that he's involved, that it's involved in all of this. Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Ma'am. Right.
Okay. Well, Yaoundé, it's been absolutely enlightening talking to you, as it always is. I have to get you back frequently. A lot of people want you to come back, and so we're going to make sure you do that. And this, incidentally, listeners and viewers, this is the kind of stuff that I really want to do on this show. I want to lift our vibrational level up a bit, and to have us consider these kinds of things, these things that we don't often consider, that often go under the radar or over the radar, and Yaoundé is perfect for that. And this Wednesday, make sure you tune in, because we're going to have someone else who's dealing with these kinds of issues, a brother named Floyd Webb, who is a very renowned filmmaker and a film theorist as well, and an organizer in many other realms. He's also pretty familiar with this notion of Afrofuturism, which I would say that Yaoundé pioneered with her artwork. I mean, I don't think there's any better example of Afrofuturism than your artwork, the art that used to create 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Actually, maybe even 50 years. Because when I was doing it, nobody else was doing it. And so I caught a little flack about it, sort of, in those days. But, yeah, I guess what I do now, I call retrofuturism, because I'm not dealing just with the past, with the future. I'm dealing with looking at us as technical beings and as spiritual and scientific beings somewhere else in the here and now.
In the here and now, that's exactly where we're going to end this. Appreciate it, Yaoundé, and I appreciate the audience. And please stay tuned for future shows. We'll be back with other shows similar to this.